Alright, so today we'll be talking about everyone's favorite boisterous block and backfire boy, Kamui Bastion, or A Kamui for short. And although A Kamui Bastion may seem similar to S Kamui, note that they perform different roles. S Kamui is a staple armor unit for dark teams, while A Kamui is an armor unit for physical teams, as well as a staple unit for masochists and people who can't dodge. And if you're new and you don't want to miss any future guides like this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if I make any mistakes or forget to mention something, I'll stick in a pinned comment below. Alright, let's get into it. Kamui Bastion is an A-rank armor class structure that deals physical damage and provides light crowd control as well as debuffing the enemy with defense down for your team. In this video, I'll cover A Kamui's skills, passives, playstyle, I'll give some gameplay tips, cover his weapons, synergies, builds, and give my overall pull and build recommendations. And as always, I'll leave timestamps in case you want to jump to a specific part. Getting into A Kamui's kit, his basic attack string deals physical damage, and his ultimate swings his big long sword to slap enemies dealing more physical damage. And his QTE is the main part of his kit as a support, as it hits enemies dealing physical damage, and afterwards the enemies are stunned for 3 seconds and have their defense reduced by 10% for 6 seconds. And his core passive is his power bar that you see here, and you can charge up the bar by basically performing any 3 orb pings, or by using his yellow orb, which is his parry ability, which we'll get to in a minute, and filling this bar gives him more attack depending on the percentage of the bar that's filled. His blue orb deals physical damage and stuns nearby enemies, and this gives Kamui a defensive shield based on his defense stat and the amount of orbs triggered. His yellow orb is his trademark parry ability, and Kamui basically enters a block stance, gaining 75% damage reduction for 2 seconds, and if Kamui takes a hit during the duration, he does a counterattack dealing physical damage and gains some charge energy for his core passive. If the ability is cancelled or no one hits him during the 2 seconds, he attacks dealing half the physical damage that he would with a parry. His red orb hits an enemy dealing physical damage, but if it's a 3 orb combo, there will be an additional hit that deals additional physical damage. For A Kamui's leader passive, when the team's HP is above 70%, their physical damage is increased by 10%. As for his Ascensions, for his tank class skill, Kamui's attacks lower the target's extra damage reduction, and this can be leveled further once he reaches S rank, so it's actually highly recommended to bring him to S rank, which is very achievable with the current Frozen Darkness event if you pulled him before using the event shards, as mentioned in my events guide. At double S, Kamui gains 1 random signal orb after blocking an attack, and at triple S, when Kamui's energy is higher than 60%, he gains 10% damage reduction and 8% more physical damage, and at triple S plus, he gains 10% more damage when he's shielded by his blue orb. A Kamui Bastion is usually played in 2 ways. First is a QTE bot, where he's only utilized for his QTE to CC and reduce enemy defense for your main assault structure. I'll address the topic of his and B nanami's similarities in this role specifically in the recommendations section of this video, because I know some of you are wondering about that. He can also be played as a pair in sub DPS while your main assault structure recovers their orbs. A Kamui will want to be constantly performing 3 orb pings, dodging for matrix to more easily proc them, and weaving in his yellow orb to counter in between attacks. So you'll be able to charge his core passive's energy bar, and then once the bar is full, finishing his damage rotation with his ultimate before switching back to your main assault structure. As for builds, for his QTE bot build, only his QTE and class profession is leveled, making a much lower investment build than the sub DPS parry build. And as for 5-star memories, since A Kamui is best played in physical teams, you can't go wrong with 4-piece Voltaire for the defense down and 2-piece Eye for more damage. And if you need him to support an elemental DPS, like Lucia Dawn or S Karenina Ember, then replacing 4 Voltaire with Full Gloria will work as well. For his parry slash sub DPS build, you basically need to level everything in his kit. For 5-star memories, I still recommend 4-piece Voltaire and 2-piece Ive, although you can also opt out for 4-piece Ive if you want to be constantly trying to trigger 3 orb combos. And for 6-star memories, 4-piece Hannah and 2-piece Kadi is definitely the go-to choice here. For Hannah, since you'll be constantly trying to proc 3 orb pings for his core passive, and 2-piece Kadi for more spammable ultimates to iframe and do burst damage. 4-piece Hannah is best in slot in the top row for the crit increase, and I made a mistake on my last A Karenina video saying it was best in the bottom row, and I apologize for that. So for his weapons, the 4-star weapon, the Suppressor, actually has a pretty decent passive and should be good enough for QTE support or free to play. That being said, the 5-star weapon, the Dynamo Greatsword, is better in terms of stats, so if you have it, you can use that. For his signature weapon, the Big Kamui, this is obviously his best in slot, especially for parry sub DPS Kamui, and the other Greatsword, the Darkness, is made for S Kamui, but A Kamui can actually utilize it as it can buff physical damage after using a 3 orb ping, making it alright for a parry sub DPS Kamui. Keep in mind that unless you're a whale, usually summoning for 6-star weapons for your main assault structures is worth more than summoning for your tanks and supports, but there's some exceptions later on. So, is A Kamui worth pulling for? Well, remember he is an A-rank character, so you may end up pulling or have already pulled him from the standard or event banner. All A-rank characters are in the base pool, so A Kamui is not going anywhere, and when the rate up A-rank feature is implemented, getting him should be no problem. And if you're watching this during the Frozen Darkness event and have bought his shards but haven't unlocked him yet, then I definitely say wait for the next banner you're summoning for in case he pops up first, then using his shards to bring him to S rank. So now you're asking if A Kamui is worth building, and if A Kamui Bastion is your husbando or you really like his playstyle, then you probably already built him. For those wondering how he is compared to the commonly used B nanami, A Kamui's QTE has built-in defense down on top of the tank class skill, lowering the target's extra damage reduction, compared to B nanami, who needs to be on field to use her blue orb for the damage reduction, but also has a free 5-star weapon that reduces target defense. But the truth is that down the line at the endgame, Kamui Bastion can be used in physical burst teams that utilize both B nanami and A Kamui to further shred defenses of enemies and buff physical DPS like Alpha to basically one-cycle bosses in Pain Cage with a well-invested team. At least until Rosetta arrives about half a year from now and becomes the premier physical tank unit. Plus, A Kamui is nice for people who can't dodge to save their life, aka Kamui's parry can be helpful especially for clowns like me.
Not bad.
Get good and dodge, man.
Yeah, get good.
Bruh. And for my final and probably most important tip, but you literally just need to get good. The Kamuis will be the only ones who can utilize the parry mechanic to take attacks until later on when the boss parry mechanic is introduced. And in the future endgame content, his ability to parry will provide damage as well as invincibility frames to cheese harder hitting stages. So if you already unlocked him at A rank, I highly recommend farming his interlude nodes to bring him to at least S rank. These videos take a lot of time and effort to make, so if you found this video helpful, drop a like, a dislike if you didn't, subscribe for future quick guides and punishing query even. If you have any further questions, drop in the comments. I do read and respond to them all. And sorry this video took so long to come out. I originally worked on another video, but TLDR, it got scrapped. I did, however, post important points on my Discord at discord.io/AjinAutomata, and I'll catch y'all in the next video whenever I got enough time to make it. Peace late.